October, and I have read 6 books for Blackoweenathon. If you don't know, Blackoweenathon is a readathon created by the wonderful Bree at the Locked Booktition, and it is a month-long challenge to read crime fiction, so horror, thrillers, mystery, by Black authors featuring Black characters. And I am not the biggest horror reader, but I do try and participate every year because I love it. And this year she did something a little different. We get a map, we get different regions on the map, and we get 6 prompts per region, and there are 6 regions. So I decided to really challenge myself this year, and I picked 2 regions to try and read 6 different books for. So I picked Bayou Haunted House and Saint Germain Graveyard. And the way it's designed, what you're supposed to do is roll dice to determine which prompt you're going to follow. And I rolled the dice twice. And then I kind of had to abandon that as a tactic because all my library books were coming up due within the first 2 weeks of October. So rather than risk losing one of the books and not being able to get it back because a lot of them had other people waiting for them, which is what made timing getting them from the library so tricky to begin with, I went ahead and just read them in the due date order from the library. So the very first book that I read actually was one that I purchased specifically for Blackoweenathon, because I did roll the dice twice before I abandoned that. So this is Lead Me Astray by Sondi Moore. It takes place in New Orleans. It is very, very queer, which I appreciate. It is a ghost story. Auri, one of our main characters, is a ghost. We have 3 point of view characters. Miss is Japanese and intersex and an empath. And Zir is either Pakistani or Indian. It was a little unclear. And a werewolf. And Auri is our Black character. I wanted so badly to like it. It's super queer. They end up forming a throuple. It should have been so much fun, but frankly, the writing was really bad. And what I didn't realize when I purchased it was that it is not traditionally published. It is published through Wattpad, which is not inherently a bad thing. Lots of indie publishing is great, but in this case, you can definitely tell that the story's just not been edited. And, there were major plot gaps, there was inconsistent characterization. It just wasn't very good. So that was a really disappointing note to start on. And then the next book that the dice rolled for me, so Lead Me Astray I used for the prompt Haunted House set in the South as part of Bayou Haunted House. Mia, it's not playtime, baby. I know, I'm sorry. Life is hard. My dog is like right over here staring holes in me. So the second prompt that I rolled was Of the Night Vibes for St. Tremaine's Graveyard, and the book that I selected for that was Ring Shout by P. DeJelly Clark, and that book was amazing. It's a novella, but it's very, very emotionally intense reading. It is essentially, it's set in the 1920s, and the idea is that members of the Ku Klux Klan are literally monsters, and our main character is trying to stop the monsters. I hope that train isn't too loud. I'm betting that it is, though. So that one I really enjoyed. It's one that had been in and out of my TBR for years because I thought that it was going to be really emotionally intense, and I just wasn't sure if I had the bandwidth for it. And frankly, it is very emotionally intense, and one of the things that I'm discovering with this challenge is that I definitely put too many books on my TBR, and I don't know that I have the emotional bandwidth to finish. But that one was good, and I'm really, really glad that I finally read it. And then the next book that I did was A Murder with Multiple Point of View for St. Tremaine's Graveyard. And for that one, I picked Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. And again, very emotionally intense book. So Razorblade Tears is the story of a black man and a white man. They are both ex-cons, and their sons are married to each other. And it opens with the murder of the sons. And these two ex-cons don't think that the police are doing their due diligence. They're not trying to catch the murderer. So these fathers band together to try and figure out who murdered their sons. So there is a lot of racial tension in this book. There's also, the book is not homophobic, but it is dealing with the topic of homophobia. Neither of these men were comfortable with the fact that their sons were gay. It caused a lot of problems when their sons are alive, and they're kind of going on this revenge quest to redeem themselves for not loving their sons enough. The story is really fast-paced. It was really emotionally wrenching. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I would highly recommend it, but really, really anxiety-inducing story to read. Let's see, what did I finish next? Flip back to the beginning of my book here. Okay, so the next book that I finished was White is for Witching, which was by, where'd it go? Helen Oyeyemi. And that one was for the prompt Ghost of Someone Who Resides Over the House for a Bayou Haunted House. And that was not a book that I enjoyed, mostly for the narrative style. Normally I do like sort of dreamy and weird, but this one just took too much effort to follow. It had multiple points of view, but didn't really make any effort to clarify who the point of view was at any particular moment, and it would switch mid-paragraph, so it was hard to follow. sentences would change halfway through. Like, it would be the beginning of a sentence, and then we'd get a line break, the middle of the sentence, and then a line break, and then the end of a completely different sentence. And it was just not enjoyable for me. And maybe I was just the wrong reader for the book, or not in the right mood, but it wasn't great. Next book that I finished was My Soul to Keep by Tananarive Due, and that was another one that I did not like. But in this case, I am very sure I was just the wrong reader for the book. My Soul to Keep is the story, it's got two point of view characters, Jessica and David. And they are a married couple, but David is an immortal. He's about 500 years old. He's keeping that a secret from Jessica, his wife, and his brotherhood of immortal beings decides that he has spent too long amongst humanity and he's in danger of divulging their secret and what have you. But he is going off the rails, and he just starts murdering people to try and keep his secret, but also to control his wife. And the reason that I did not like this book is that I got the impression reading it that we were supposed to sympathize with Dawood, and I did not. I hated him. I thought he was an abusive, controlling, manipulative a-hole. And I am a super, super character-driven reader, so he just did not work for me. He didn't work for me as a point of view character. I hated him. I did not like the sections that were in his point of view. I kind of ended up hate reading to the end, and I was doing it as an audiobook, and by the end of the book I had it up on 3 times speed to just try and get through it, because I was not enjoying it even a little bit as a reading experience. And that was my free space book for Saint Treme Graveyard. And I think I've only read one other. Let me just double check. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Yeah, one other book for Blackoweenathon. So the last book that I've read to fill a prompt so far was also for St. Treme's Graveyard, a horror or thriller with body parts. And for that one, I picked Jackal by Aaron E. Adams, and that one was good. The writing was beautiful. The story was so anxiety-inducing. I was so scared for our characters. It's got traditional horror in that it has a serial killer out there, eating people's hearts, which is where the body parts come in, but it has an extra element of horror in that the murders are racially motivated, and that kind of makes it even more horrific. It also made it difficult to read because that part felt very real. It felt like a very real exploration of the tensions between black and white communities in rural towns where it feels like the pie is smaller and a black family getting some of it keeps a white family from getting it, and there's all of these economic tensions, and yeah, really an amazing book. I cannot believe that it was a debut because it was so well written. But again, very anxiety-inducing, and that is sort of the problem that I'm having with Blackoweenathon. I picked too many books. I've been reading other non-horror books in between, but it is definitely causing me some anxiety, and that's not great. So I have 6 more books. I do think I'll be able to finish the TBR that I set for myself, and next year I will not be trying to read 2 different regions. I will just pick one, and maybe I'll even pick one of the nicer ones, like Noir Apothecary, and just spend the month reading cozy mysteries. Because I don't know if I have the constitution for this, but I am super glad that I'm participating. I really, really love Blackoweenathon every year. It pushes me to read books that I would not normally pick up, just because horror is scary. But I think it's good to get pushed out of my comfort zone, especially to read books like Jackal or Ring Shout, because they were both amazing. And both of those are ones that are going to stick with me for a while. So that's it. That's my Blackoweenathon update. Oh, and this is sock number 2. I think the second to last video I played, I was knitting sock number 1, so that is done. And yeah, that's all I've got for this update. You're probably going to see it at the end of the 3rd week of October, because YouTube punishes you if you don't stick to a very specific schedule. So you might get my mid-month update followed immediately by my end of the month. Who knows? I haven't decided yet. I hope that everyone is having a good October. If you are participating in Blackoweenathon, let me know in the comments what the best book that you've read so far this month is. If you are not participating in Blackoweenathon, let me know if you would read any of the books that I talked about tonight. Or if you have a horror recommendation by a Black author that you want to leave me, leave that in the comments. So hit that like button if you liked this video. Consider subscribing to my channel if you want to see more content from me. And have a good night. Stay safe out there, y'all. Just napping with me while I film. Hoping that I will throw that ball for her.